Welcome to the High Vibration Reset. I'm Ciara Conlon, and each week I sit down with inspiring guests to share conversations that challenge perspectives, spark new thinking, and help us grow in life, work, and leadership. Please hit the follow button to join us each week. My guest this week is Éadaoin Curtin. Éadaoin is a photographer and copywriter who helps business owners to show up fully and confidently with both their words and images. Éadaoin believes that small business owners who are awake and alive to the world have the power to build new ways of being so that our businesses can be sites of liberation. There's no fitting in, no conformative copy. Instead, powerful words and images that attract their truest collaborators. So let's get into this week's episode. Welcome, Éadaoin. Thanks so much for joining me on the High Vibration Reset.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Ciara. It's lovely to be here with you.
Éadaoin, your brand slogan is Dare to be Seen. So why do you think women are so afraid to be seen?
That's a big question, Ciara. So the brand slogan is Dare to be Seen, and it's kind of the dare in the two meanings of the word. So it is that daring, that bravery, and also I dare you. I dare you to be seen, and I dare you to let and my clients, they're daring people to see them. Why is it a struggle sometimes? I think because there's an inherent danger in being visible, in the form of judgment from outside people. I think if you've been following pop culture recently, or if you're Irish, you'll have heard about CMAT and her recent experience at the BBC Radio 1 festival a couple of weeks ago. She performed a song that she had written as a result of the abuse that she got after the BBC Radio 1 festival a couple of years ago, in terms of her body. And so she wrote this song called Take a Sexy Picture, and it's about this idea that people people think that they have the right to have an opinion on other people's bodies. And CMAT's not there as a body. She's there as an artist, as a singer, as a performer. But still she can't escape that judgment. And it was really it's really interesting for me. So like I was saying to you earlier, like I've kind of been away from this business for the last little while. I went from maternity leave into an employment contract, and it's kind of wild to see how much things have changed in the last couple of years. And also not at all. Things are changing and not changing. But I think in the words of an artist that I was listening to yesterday, she was saying AI and Ozempic are two things that are having another huge impact on our ideas of what our bodies can and should look like. And I think that's one of the biggest things, because no matter how no, it's not that no matter how hard we try, it's more of like, it's something that we've been conditioned into all our lives through magazines, through media. Like we've seen women's bodies being, torn apart and judged on magazine covers, with big red circles around parts of their bodies. And so we have, to some extent, everybody internalized that. And I think that's one of the big things. So we have our body image things, but then also, daring to be seen is daring to be successful. And there's something there too that's like, there can be a fear of success. There can be a fear of can I do this? What will happen if? And I think they're very understandable fears,
Yeah.
all of them, but equally, I don't know that it's necessarily a reason to,
Not to do
yeah,
it.
you know?
And I took your dare many years ago for the first time. And in saying that, so the first time you worked with me, I think was in Wood Key.
Yeah.
I wanted you to take some speaker photographs. And then on another occasion, you came out to my house and we went to the beach and we had a great day. Did you see much of a difference in me between those two photo shoots?
Oh, great question. Yes. Big time. Big time. And for a few different reasons, probably. But um, I think one of the things that I'm kind of coming to realize as well is that being photographed takes practice. Like, and being photographed in a way that feels good, that feels comfortable, that gives you photos that you're actually going to struggle to choose which one, like that's something that it becomes easier over time. So I have a couple of clients that I've worked with a few times. And my Dare to Be Seen course kind of came out of working with one of those clients because she shared with me her her preparation, I suppose, and the ways that she was, the way that she was reflecting on shoots that she'd had previously and what she wanted to do differently and how she wanted things to be. And it kind of it helped me understand how I could disrupt the power dynamic between the photographer and or the camera and the client, because that's also quite an interesting power dynamic. When you consider that, like, the first photographers were all, they were chemists or engineers or whatever. They were largely men. Okay. So there's that. Visual culture is largely the male gaze, you know. So even when it's a woman, like, we can internalize that male gaze. And so we can see things, we can see ourselves and our
Insecurities?
yeah, yeah, but even just seeing ourselves through that male gaze, which is largely objectifying, which brings it back to the body being the issue, when actually, when it's your business, when it's your clients that need you, that need to see you, then, like, they it's not that they don't care about your body, but it's not what they're interested in. You
Exactly.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
they care about who you are, what you can do for them, how you can help them.
And this isn't just about getting your photograph taken, because the question I asked you in terms of the difference, working with you, doing that course, Dare to Be Seen, it helped my confidence overall.
Mhm.
So it brought me from a place of feeling that insecurity, that judgment, that, who am I to think I'm great in front of the camera, to have my own photos taken, all of these stupid limiting thoughts that we have, to a place where I felt confident that I had never ever seen photos of myself that I liked. And, a lot of people might think that's vain to say, but I love the photographs that you took of me.
Yeah.
I saw myself in a different way.
Hear it, like, you're going to make me cry. Like, I hear that from so many of my clients. And even, like, I have a friend who I photographed for my pandemic portrait project. When I photographed 50 people over Zoom in like the space of 6 or 8 weeks. So how are you the only person who can take a photo of me that I really like? And honestly, I don't know in some ways, but in other ways, I know that it's part of who I am. I am a mirror for people. I am also, in terms of my personality, I am cheerleader, a campaigner. I do my very best to hold people in unconditional positive regard. You know, the this is the other part of it. It's dare to be seen, but also I am the one who will see you on behalf of your client.
Or on
And
behalf of yourself.
correct. And I was about to say there can be a little discomfort there as well for some people, which is something that's coming up for me at the moment, including with the copywriting, which I just think is gas, where I have clients who um don't use their photographs straight away because it's almost too much for them. And then they kind of grow into them a little bit. And I had the same experience with a copywriting client whose website I wrote for her a year ago. And of course, because it's text, she could edit it and she could change it. And then she came back to me earlier this year and said, "Oh, I don't like it. I don't like I don't like where it's gone." And interestingly, of course, her business and her point of view have changed a little bit over the last year, but we largely went back to a lot of what we'd written before. But she wasn't ready to embody it, which I think it was a real learning for me. So when I was coming back to the business this year and I was re-looking at everything in in just integrating what has happened over the last 2 years in my life and in the world and how my perspectives have changed. And I kind of looked at this, the dare, and thought about how it could even in itself be an acronym for the process. So the D is distill. So that is the first thing that I do. We have a conversation. I distill you from you. I figure out what are the things that people need to hear and what are the things that your clients need to hear. Like when I came to personal branding first, I came to it from thinking maybe I would do wedding photography, understanding I didn't love the industry and wasn't too interested in being a part of that, wondering what else I could do. Someone suggested, would you do headshots? And I said, oh, no, I won't do headshots. But a few years ago, I had been studying personal branding with Kathleen Shannon is her name. So when Brene Brown got noticed by Oprah and realized that she needed a zhuzh on her brand, she went to Kathleen. So I learned about personal branding because I wanted self-inquiry. I didn't know what self-inquiry was, but here was this woman who was providing me with questions. Like I didn't even have a business or an inkling of wanting to have a business at that stage. But she provided me with all these questions that helped me at the time, but that I understand now the importance of those questions. So in that distillation process, I have a very clear set of questions that I can ask that are both empowering to you as the answerer, but also informative to me and for your client. And then the A is for align. So we align your images and your copy with who you are. We make sure that they're yours. It's never, even if I was to shoot 10 people in the same location, they're always going to be different because the person is going to be different. Our relationship is going to be different. My camera as a window for their clients to look through to see them that has a different function for each person because the people on the sides of the window change, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Then, oh my God, I've forgotten what the OR stands for. Oh, I remembered. Oh, panic. The OR is for reveal. And so this is the thing that I was talking about, like helping my clients to actually bring that out into the world. So to hit publish, it's part of the process now. I don't just give you your stuff and run. I'm going to help you find the ways to use the images. And then the E is for embody. And this is the thing. So when we write your copy, you have literal words that you can use to speak about your work. But when we take your photos, it's the same process. So there is that, it is that idea of like just embodying that incredible person that you see in these images or that you read in this copy, because it's true. I don't make things up about people. I am a mirror. It can be hard to hear it though. I think that is the thing. So that's what I've understood now is the next sort of addition is to give people the space to hear and see their own truth and feel comfortable with that integrated.
So when I asked you initially, why women are afraid to be seen, you said it's a lot about the cultural conditioning, the image that we're trying to project onto the world. We're afraid of judgment. We're comparing ourselves with all of the gorgeous bodies out there. But how much do you think is deeper, more historical?
All of it, Ciara, all of it. All of it is internalized misogyny. It is the patriarchy at work. It is capitalism. The only way marketing works now is to make you feel as though you are wrong and you are missing something. What is it? Needling the pain point. Sorry, I say that's the only way that marketing works. That's not true. It is not true. There is another way, and it is vision-led marketing, and it is values-led marketing, and it is highly emotive, and it is arguably better at converting. The Hope and Courage Collective, the Irish, they were the far-right monitoring kind of organization. They've changed their name to the Hope and Courage Collective.
Sounds a lot better.
Yeah. I see them use it all the time. There's vision-led marketing. Lead with the vision, naming the villain, explaining how things can be different. So yeah, it's deeply cultural, it's deeply learned, it's deeply historical, but there is a better way. Can we embody it overnight? Absolutely not. It is a practice. It is a consistent practice. I think all visibility is a practice. Being in business is a practice. And it can get harder at certain times. If things outside of your business are happening, there may be health or care load or other issues in your life, or maybe the business can be really busy and it can be really easy to just get on with the work. But then the pipeline can take a hit maybe, or whatever. So there are different reasons that we might take a step back from being visible in different ways. But I think, I think we have to, the bigger question I think that we have to remember is who benefits from our lack of visibility? you know. And I think a quote that I was reminded of recently, is it The Beauty Myth, Naomi Wolf?
Mm.
And she said, a culture fixated on female thinness is not an obsession about female beauty, but an obsession about female obedience. That
Ooh.
dieting is the most potent political sedative in women's history. A quietly mad population is a tractable one. Tractable meaning easily led or managed. And I think that's the root of it. Because all of this, you know, this understanding that visibility can be dangerous and success can be dangerous. It is rooted in the understanding somewhere along the line that a powerful woman is actually dangerous,
Very well said.
you know? So yeah, it's deeply historical.
To have
And
your question.
we can unlearn it bit by bit.
I remember when I started my first blog. Well, my first blog, it's still the same blog, but I can't remember what year it was, but it was many years ago, maybe 15 years ago or so. And I remember sending it to a friend who had a very big business. He actually worked for Robin Sharma at the time. And him saying, yeah, it's great, but would you ever put a photograph of yourself on it? Here was this text blog at the time, and I was going, a photo? Ooh, a photo. And now if you Google me, you'll be hard pushed to
Everywhere.
10 pages later. And it's a bit like that for most people now. A lot of people have got used to putting their faces on social media or speaking on Instagram or Facebook. But for so many people, that is still something really deeply uncomfortable.
Mhm.
What can you say to those people just to get out of their own way?
Yeah, this kind of comes back to it, like, you know, when I've been in conversations before with coaches, mentors who said, you know, what's getting in your way? And my answer would always be me. And that's so, so untrue and so desperately disempowering, because it's not us who gets in our way. It is what we just talked about. It is that it is that patriarchal conditioning. It is that internalized misogyny. That is the thing that is getting in the way. It's not me. It's not you who's getting in your way. But what I would say is it's a muscle. Like so many things, it is a practice, it is a muscle. You do not get strong muscles by going to the gym once. It is consistent and it is practiced. So, like for me at the moment, I'm sharing with my email list. I've redone my website this year and I'm still using photos from 2 years ago. And there was a couple of reasons for that. One of which being I had a very, very sad time with my hair earlier this year. It was just being so sad. Yeah, I told my hairdresser about it. Her first question was, "Are you still breastfeeding?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Baby girl, your hair has got nothing left to give." So I had to kind of take that. Um, but also things are busy, and because I want to do the photos for myself, I haven't set a deadline. I'm working on that at the moment. But there are so many other things that I'm doing. So, like, this is the thing, daring to be seen is not necessarily about getting your photo taken, being photographed. Like that first step of daring to be seen can be sharing text, can be, you know, sharing your point of view, sharing your ideas. that is daring to be seen. I wrote a list for myself. Hold on, I'll see if I can get it. Of all the things that, okay, while I haven't done my shoot yet, the things that I have been doing, I've been contacting beautifully aligned humans in my industry that maybe that we could collaborate together. As I said to you before, sir, I've been cold calling. Like, I'm coming back to this business after a break. And in a way, I'm starting from scratch. But in another way, I'm starting with a network and with almost a decade of learning of how to run a business. So I'm talking on podcasts. you know, there are so many things that, but that said, you go on a podcast, the podcast host is likely going to ask you for a photograph. So good to have a photograph, but there are things that we can do. In-person networking as well. That is daring to be seen. So it's not like having a photo of yourself is not the first thing, but equally, the Dare to Be Seen course that I've made, a big part of that is learning how to take your own self-portraits. Because I believe in selfies as a source of power. And actually, when you learn how to set up the camera properly, when you learn what to do with your hands, when you learn how to pose your body, when you get some guidance on that, and then you give yourself the space to practice that, you could actually just have a really, really nice selfie. And that can work fine for the first while. Because when you start off in business, when you start writing a blog, or even in that first year in a business, you don't really know who your ideal client is. You can make an avatar till the cows come home, but who are you actually working with? So, like for me, I'm not a big fan of this avatar idea. I'm more a fan of work with as many people as you can, and then think about which of those people you would love to clone and work with again and again and again and again. So I think, when you're starting off, you don't need a whole set of photos of yourself. One good selfie will carry you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So it's a great place to start. And just to say, in terms of cloning your clients, we've had at least two of your clients already on the podcast, Sally Murphy and Amanda Grace.
Between yourself and Sally and Amanda now, you're a trio of dream clients.
Thank you very much. You are an advocate of truth. It's a word that means a lot to you. So, Éadaoin, how do we kind of understand our truth? What is real, what's not real, amongst all the clutter and the chaos and the overwhelm that we have in our lives?
I think, and I think Amanda Grace might agree with me on this one as well, it is learning how to ask the right questions and giving yourself the space to answer them. And do you know what? Even as I say that, maybe it's not even the right questions. Maybe it's just learning to ask yourself questions. Because you keep asking, you'll get to the right questions. I also think that the truth of ourselves is something that we come back around to. So, it's the thing that keeps whizzing around at the back of your head, or it keeps showing up in different ways. Yeah, I think that's, the clutter and the chaos. Oh God, yeah, especially now more than ever, I think. But I do think that, asking yourself questions, how, and two of the big questions, if we want to bring it back specifically to what I work in and what I speak about, is how do I want to be seen? How do I want to show up in the world? And how do I want others to see me?
And it's interesting that you say it comes back around. So I'm shouting out one of our previous episodes, which was with Brian Sheehan of Women for Election. And I started working, supporting Women for Election a couple of years back and doing some training and coaching. And every time I engage with that man, there is a excitement in me. There's this feeling that a passion towards the purpose. Now, I have no interest in running for politics, but I have a massive interest in getting more women to run for politics, to support women in politics, to support women in leadership. But the interesting thing is that I studied politics. I studied politics not out of an interest in politics, out of the reason I chose politics in an arts degree in UCD was I needed one more subject. I had chosen psychology and economics. And I needed one more subject. And I thought to myself, I haven't a clue what politics is about. So I'll do it for a year. And I ended up really enjoying it. But again, with no, desire or interest in pursuing it as a career. But that feeling of feminism and rights for women and, everything you speak about there, Aideen, about we need to unload this baggage and these chains so that we can step out, so that we can step into positions of leadership and into positions in our democracy to make change happen. So this is what all of this hiding is doing. It's putting Ireland, we are, what was the number? We are 22nd in female representation of the 27 EU countries. I mean, it is just unfathomable. I still can't believe it. But so that's why we need to be seen. And not even if we want to go to great heights, we need to be seen just to feel right in ourselves, to honor ourselves, to be able to step out and speak about your business, or if you're working for a company, to be able to speak up in a meeting, to just have that confidence, small confidence. It doesn't have to be large confidence.
Absolutely not.
But when you say in your dare, in the A, so you use the word align. And where my brain went to was authentic, which is a word we've all said, well, authentic. But, truth, authenticity, aligning yourself. Where is that point that we can get to where, we spoke about truth, but yeah, we can ask ourselves questions. Is there anything else that we can do to kind of help ourselves align more fully? And is it just what you said? Keep moving forward, keep stepping out.
I think the one other thing that neoliberalism and or late stage capitalism has tried to take away from us is community. I think that is the one other huge thing. My motto at the moment is community will save us. I'm very earnestly trying to meet this moment that we are living through in the world with an open heart and a hopeful heart in the pursuit of a livable life for everybody on this planet. And one of the things that I have come to understand that will do that is community and geographic community. So one of the things that the internet has done is it has allowed us to find communities of aligned people very easily who are not in our geographic area. But being in community is not about it's not easy. You know, being in community it's work. It takes work. And we can meet people within our communities that we're not necessarily in agreement with on certain things. But I think if we are going to, speaking specifically as women, or people who are conditioned and reared as girls and women, I think community is a big thing as well. Surrounding yourself with people. And, like, even as I'm saying that, I'm thinking back to like maybe like networking groups that I would have been a part of. I'm not sure that that's it, because it needs to be community that you can really connect with. And that it may be very small. It may be just one or two other people, but finding one or two other people that you do hold in unconditional positive regard, regardless of disagreements or differing opinions, but people who, that you can build and hold each other up.
I think it gives us permission to be ourselves when we see ourselves reflected in others. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because it allows us, like I was saying earlier, helping my clients embody the words or the images that we create together is what I'm realizing now is a bigger part of my work than I had understood. And maybe it's because things have changed so much in the last 6 years as well. I mean, we have been now, it's 2026. So like, since 2020, it's been rough, in many ways. And even for those of us who lead privileged lives where things haven't necessarily come to our doorstep, we're still witnessing what's happening to other people around the world. And so I think just, like giving each other the permission, and because we can kind of gaslight ourselves and doubt ourselves. So we can think, oh, I'm good at this. Oh, this is going well. And then there can be this, inner critic or whatever you want to call it. I worked with a woman years ago, a coach, who used to call it asshole brain. I just love that so much better than inner critic. So this asshole brain can start to tell you, oh no, actually, that's not right. But when you're hearing it outside of yourself again and again and again, I think that's, it's like the opposite of gaslighting. It's lighting.
Lighting you up.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I see that time and time again with any of my life flow programs that people come without the confidence to be themselves. And then gradually, as they see others with the same issues, with the same problems, with the same thoughts, that they're not unique and that it's safe then to express that actually, yes, I feel that too. Or even things like, we would have been afraid to say that motherhood is really difficult and I'm struggling, or whatever it is, or work is overwhelming and I can't take any more. So that becomes a safe place to really understand and be able to express and, as you say, embody that this is real, this is my reality, and it's okay.
Yeah. And I think, to go back to that, like when work is a lot and parenting is a lot, we have to remember that the reason that those things are a lot is political machination.
Systemic.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is systemic, deeply rooted. Neoliberalism has taken away our geographic communities. It has taken away a lot of people's capacity to be able to buy a home, and certainly buy a home where they want to buy a home that's close to family and a village that helps them to rear their children. It's made it so that if a family has two parents, both of those parents really do need to be working for the most part in order to be able to to sustain a life. And, it's, and will it change? I don't know. Maybe not in our lifetime, but I live
We
it.
get more women in power at will, darling.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, even in Ireland, 3 of our opposition parties have female leadership. It's there. It is changing. Um, yeah. Yeah. And we have to keep working towards that future of, I love this phrase, a livable and liberated future for everybody.
Yes. So tell us about you. So you're very comfortable behind the camera. Have you always dared to be seen? Have you always had enough confidence to be who you are, to live in your truth?
That is such an interesting question. Yes, ish. So, a huge amount, a huge proportion, or a lot of the women friends that I have that I see most often or speak to most often at the moment have all been diagnosed later in life with neurodiversity. And I get it so often from them, like, you're neurodiverse, or I think you are. I really don't think that I am, because I don't relate to the hardships of that they have described. I think it's an innate kind of knowing. But what I do know is that, yes, I have always been um slightly nonconformist, slightly anti-authoritarian. um and not out of choice,
Mm.
more out of, see, there's a kind of a strange tension, I think, probably in my childhood, where the home that I was brought up in was incredibly egalitarian. I have a brother who is 14 months younger than me, and then a sister who's almost 6 years younger than me. Um, and of course, like with myself and my brother, there were, of course, different ways that we were perceived and brought up by our parents and our extended families. But there was also a lot of equality. There really wasn't there was talk about politics, but I have a really strong memory of some election or referendum or something, and asking my dad how he'd voted. And he kind of said, well, I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to influence you, because I think he had that maybe a lot. So I've grown up in this house, and like my mom, I think I was probably maybe 9 or 10, and my mom set up a local Foróige group, Forbridge na Óige, because she wanted me and my brother to have a youth group in our community when we came of age. But one of the motto of Foróige is, don't do for others what they can do for themselves. So, so I had this, this really kind of egalitarian, quite a body positive home as well. I had a conversation with my sister and our friend there recently, and I have some kind of appreciation of how rare it is to grow up in a home where there was no diet talk. But also I don't, because that's the home that I grew up in. So I don't know, but I do know, spending time in other people's sitting rooms with their parents and hearing, oh, look at your one, the newsreader, look at her. Like, oh, sorry, I'm not looking at her. I'm trying to listen to what she's telling me. But like I never experienced that at home either, that kind of, that judgment. So there's that. And then there's also, I grew up in a rural community in Cavan. I went to school in the local tech. I wanted to do, I thought I wanted to be an architect when I was starting secondary school. And so I wanted to do technical graphics. And the principal of the school told me, you can't do technical graphics because you're a girl, basically. And my response to him was, well, I have my set squares on my T-square. Oh,
Ready.
mm, I'm going to do it. And then it was in the classroom, you with the hair and whatever, you know. So, have I always dared to be seen? Yes and no. And it's been taken away from me as well. I've experienced oh, you're too loud. You're singing too loud. I'm just having a great time. But okay, sorry. I will quiet myself. I will dull myself for you. Um, so yeah, I think any daring to be seen that I have done has probably been kind of like an internal propulsion, if that makes sense. Like it hasn't always been by choice. But with the business, then there is a little bit of I have to make an effort a lot of the time. And I have to give myself both grace and maybe a kick up the bum. And remind myself that a lot of the reasons are external.
That's pretty normal, I think. And we
Yeah.
all go through those phases as well of being motivated and then exhausted or demotivated, as the case may be. But yeah, I mean, it's great as well that you can do things from the other side and that you've experienced that stepping out of your comfort zone,
Mhm. Mhm.
because I've seen your journey as well and your adjustments to what feels right and adapting and flexing who you are, let's say, to step more into your truth and more into your truth so that it feels right.
Mm.
So, can you maybe leave people, Aideen, with one little piece of advice? One little thing, other than, of course, do your Dare to be Seen course, because that's a
Mhm.
given.
Yeah.
And maybe they can step into a community of Dare to be Seen people. But what one thing do you think would benefit people, even a small thing that would just take that first step?
Um, I think remembering to ask yourself the question of who benefits if I stay where I am. If the answer is nobody, or the answer is the status quo, then get a little bit mad, do something about it.
I love that. Yeah, who benefits? Nobody. Neither you nor the potential customers. And often we can make it very much about ourselves, can't we? And it's not about you. It's about the purpose and the mission and what you could be doing in the world, especially if you're working in one of those fields that's helping other people.
Yeah, definitely. I have a quote on my website from a marketing coach that I've had the privilege of learning from over the years, and their name is Bear Aber. And I love what they say, our businesses can be sites of liberation. And I think there's a huge truth in that. Like our businesses and like so many of the people that I work with are doing such incredible work to help people or communities know a better life. And if you're not doing that work, then the world is missing out.
Yeah. So stop apologizing for taking up space and take up a shitload of space, please.
Exactly. As much space as a mediocre white man would, at the very least. I mean, if that can be
Amazing.
like the bar, then
Yeah.
you know.
Let's do it. Let's take up more space and dare to be seen. Aidan, thank you so much for joining me, and we'll share all Aidan's details. And she has kindly said there will be 50%
Yes.
discount.
So there is a special code for the High Vibration Reset listeners. It's High Vibe, HIVIBE, and that gets you 50% off the course. So it is priced at €50. So you'll get it for 25. It is worth
A
so much.
steal.
It is a steal. It is an absolute
Absolutely.
steal. But
Amazing.
because I want people, I want to get it out in there into the world and into people's hands and into their hearts and help them to dare the world as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ciara.
Thanks for listening to the High Vibration Reset. Make sure you hit the follow button so you never miss an episode. And if this conversation resonated, make sure you share it with somebody who needs to hear it. And you can check out Aidan's details below, where you'll find the discount code to her course, Dare to be Seen. So see you next week. And as always, have a wonderful inner day.